With Patrick Beverly joining the Los Angeles Lakers, it seems almost inevitable that the Lakers are on a rebound season. But this could also be an absolutely detrimental thing to the team. Now, back in 2015, this was easily the worst season for the Los Angeles Lakers, where they were only able to scrape up 17 wins. This was year 20 for Kobe Bryant. Now, we all remember the last game heroic 60-plus points against the Utah Jazz, but everybody else wants to forget the entire regular season. There's so many similarities that we see this season. Kobe Bryant, year 20. LeBron James, year 20. Aging players, young talent who have not proven themselves yet, and injuries absolutely derailed the season. They were able to scrape by barely to get into double-digit wins. You had young players like D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle, guys who are pivotal players in the NBA now, barely able to make this team relevant. Now, there are some similarities, like mentioned, to this season. You've got LeBron in year 20. You've got Anthony Davis, who has only played 35% of his games while wearing the purple and yellow. Aging stars, poor shooting by Russell Westbrook, and a career's worth of fights and battles with Mr. Patrick Beverly. Is this going to be the worst season that the Lakers ever see? Or can they turn this around against all odds and against all haters and have one of the most historic runs that the Lakers have ever seen? Breaking down this year's roster with the Los Angeles Lakers going into the 2022 season, I will be able to show you exactly how the Lakers will be exposed. Hopefully, they can get by with these fundamental assets by Coach Darvin Ham and all-stars LeBron James and Anthony Davis to get to where they need to be at the end of the season, which is the playoffs. If they can get to the playoffs, these three things that can expose them can actually make them title contenders if they nip it in the butt. And there's not just one of these things that you can solve. You're going to have to listen to all three of these, and they are all going to have to be reconciled in order for this to be a successful season, especially the third one. The third one will have them barely winning 10 games this season if they don't figure it out. And I am your NBA white guy. I talk all things NBA hoops from a hooper's perspective. And if you love that kind of content, then make sure you tap that subscribe button and you click the bell so you're notified every time I do a new video. Watching LeBron James enter into year 20, a positive season for him would not only be making the playoffs, but a deep run into the finals. As he's going after ring number 5 and chasing Jordan's 6 rings, it's inevitable that that's his number one goal and priority. Well, besides playing with his son in the NBA. But if the Lakers and LeBron James want to bring another title into the purple and gold, then they're going to really have to focus on plugging 3 major holes. Now, I'm telling you right now, the third one that we talk about will be the absolute worst, so you're going to want to make sure you stay tuned to that. But real quick, before I get to any of this, man, I miss my Kobe. I want you to comment down below, what's your favorite Kobe moment of all time? Let's see if there's some true Laker fans out there. Exposure number 1 is movement both on and off the ball. Darvin Ham's new 4-out, 1-in system should definitely help with this, but if we look at statistics of a LeBron James-led team for the last 20 seasons, we notice one thing. On average, in his career, he averages 3.9 three-point field goal attempts per game. Last season, 8. He averaged 8 three-pointers per game last season. Now, he shot almost 36% from the three-point line, but a lot of that was due to mental breakdowns in the offense. This was running the clock all the way down to 3 seconds and jacking something up from half court. This is something that allows the defense to gather their breath, to not be able to get tired, to not have to worry about other teammates. They've got to be able to find shooters, and not only shooters, but the shooters got to get into their correct spots. If you look at shooting charts, you will notice where a lot of these players can shoot at a high percentage, even one being Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook has to get into a corner for him to hit it. Kendrick Nunn from straight away shoots over 40%. Anthony Davis from the corner can shoot 40 to 50%. This is what a coach absolutely must do this season. Get them to their spots. If they want to avoid winning only 10 games this season, they've got to move off the ball, they've got to move around screens, they've got to be passing, and they got to get open shots to good shooters in the correct spots. Now, we've just brought in Patrick Beverly, and that's definitely going to help on the defensive end, but he is a shooter in certain areas that can stretch out 50 to 60% shooting as well. Now, we are not looking for these players to go and average 25 points a game, but it is nice to have a little bit of relief here and there from some of the non-star players to open up lanes. The number one thing with a LeBron James offense is it has to have big openings so that he can drive down the middle and kick out to shooters for them to knock down these shots. But last season, there was none of this. He was driving with multiple defenders on him at all times, and that is what led him to stand outside the three-point line and shoot so many three-pointers a game because there was no movement. Now, obviously, shooting is what the Lakers have been working on and definitely addressing in the offseason. But let me tell you right now, it's going to get way worse and darker for the Lakers if they don't fix these next two major exposures. Now, I don't care how good your offense is. If you don't work on this next exposure, the season's going to be a complete waste. Exposure number 2 is going to be defense. And I'm not talking about defense individually. Team defense. When they won the championship in the bubble, they went from one of the best defensive teams in the entire league to dead last the next season. Now we've brought up a chart on the defense from last season, and there are some true signs of one of the most historically worst defenses ever, and I'm going to point it out. Now again, from a Hooper's perspective, I will talk about some things that some of the news anchors aren't going to talk about that need to be fixed. Now let's look at the number one thing right out of the gate. If we look down at the bottom here, we've got our guys, the Los Angeles Lakers, at the absolute bottom. Right next to their boys, Sacramento Kings, who just need to sell that team and move on. They're that bad. This tells me right away there was no effort last year. Now, there's some really true telling signs that show on this defensive stat that will really paint a bad picture. If they aren't fixing this, they got no chance. First thing we need to look at is assists allowed. Right here, they were 28th in the league. This is the absolute worst. What does that tell me? That they never, ever moved. They were letting people cut right down the lane for wide open layups and dunks. And there's another crazy statistic that will prove they were actually trying to play defense, and then they lacked every ounce of effort after that. Now, if we move over to statistics here, again, in the bottom 5, defensive rebounds. This means that the other teams were getting so many offensive rebounds and putback. That all comes down to hustle. I don't care who you are. If you are not hustling on that defensive end and boxing out, that is a coach's worst nightmare. That is what's going to get you benched over and over. There's not one basketball player who's ever going to watch this video and say, yeah. There's not one basketball player here who's going to tell you they had a really good practice when they didn't block out on the defensive end. That's when you ran sprints. That's when your coach got pissed, and that is what makes you lose games. Now, if we move right over to the next one, 28th in the league in field goals allowed. They were letting these people shoot on them like crazy. So now we were letting the most assists, we were letting the most shots, and if you look at it, they were not rebounding after these shots and getting freebies. But here's a very interesting twist that I see. If you look at this statistic right here, 3-point shots allowed, they were 18th. So right in the middle of the league. It's not good. But what this tells me is Frank Vogel made an absolute pressure point to get out on the wing and apply some hands up into the face. So this was not allowing three-pointers to shoot. Obviously, it's not top 5, but that statistic right there tells me that they were going out and at least getting a hand on the ball or at least make the shot more difficult. But of the most assists allowed and the most field goals allowed, that tells me that the other defenders, the other 4, were standing with their hands in their pocket, not doing anything. So there was a lot of free cuts down the middle, probably a lot of dunks, and a lot of easy shots. That's the worst thing you can do. When you're going to play as a defensive unit, all 5 players have to have their head on a swivel and know where everything is. And the last thing that it tells me, no communication at all. They were not speaking. Hey, cutter, screen right, anything, nothing. It was just sit there and watch your other guy get cooked. But there's one promising factor on this sheet that I got to get to, and it's right here. They were 7th in the league in blocks. So this also tells me they were doing a pretty decent job at rim protecting, and I think they really need to do this again. In that bubble run, they were dangerous down low. I love Anthony Davis's defense. I think when he's healthy, he's one of the best big man defenders in the entire league, and it's not even close. The problem is, I'm so tired of seeing him come down on people's ankles, and how many times have you seen him laying on his back, holding some extremity of his leg, some part of his leg hurt. Now, Anthony Davis, I know you're coming back in shape. You're looking good. You've been running hills. You got new trainers. But get some freaking basketball shoes that go above your ankles, please. If you got to wear those ugly-ass Steph Currys that went up to his knee, do it. But let's get healthy and get some rim protectors. This also tells me that Damian Jones, Bryant, these guys got to be big time when they come in and get their minutes, and let Anthony Davis rest a little bit, or at least stretch out and not have to bang with the big boys all game long. But if you think this was bad, wait till you see this next exposure. Now, before I get into this last major exposure, make sure that you're going down and you're hitting that like button, and you also subscribe to this channel so that you can help this NBA white guy out. Exposure number 3, I have to show you this chart. Oh boy, this is painful. As you can see, last year the Los Angeles finished the season with 1,191 turnovers. This was the 3rd worst in the entire NBA. And guess who had a game last season with the most turnovers, more than any player in the NBA? Russell Westbrook. He had 295 total turnovers last year. That was 2nd in the entire league, only behind Trae Young. But he also led the entire season with the worst game statistically, with 10 turnovers. That's got to stop right away. And believe it or not, that's not even the biggest exposure. I saw it with my own eyes, and if you didn't see it, I'm sorry. You don't understand basketball. They did not get along. They were fighting like cats and dogs. They were obviously injured, but they never played one game together. It just was off. They didn't like each other. They had no trust. And I'm sorry, Mr. LeBron James, you're my favorite player ever. You're the GOAT. You really made it worse. There was a lot of give up last year. This is why young teams in the NBA are so freaking good in the regular season. Everybody looks at the Memphis Grizzlies and some of these younger teams and goes, oh my gosh, they're so good. They won 60 games. And then they go into the playoffs and they get absolutely dominated. Those young stud players, they can play big minutes. They can go hard at you. And that is what wins games in the regular season. If we want to get a 4th, 5th, 6th, even 7th seed, there's got to be a lot more hustle. And there's got to be buy-in from Mr. King James. He cannot look down at these players if they make a mistake. There's nothing worse on planet Earth than when you look at the star player or the coach and you make one small mistake and they're shaking their head or they're threatening to pull you out of the game. It is a mental game more than anything, and you got to have the buy-in from the top player. LeBron is in season number 20. I know he can't give 40 minutes, but if he can give us 32, 33 minutes a night and actually show some effort on the defensive end, the entire Lakers organization is going to see that, and they're going to do it too. Patrick Beverly is a massive haul. Everybody's talking about he can't shoot, he's overrated, he's this. I'm telling you right now, you got to have glue guys. Chemistry guys, glue guys, they're the most important thing you can have in a title run. Darvin Ham wants to instill defensive toughness. Well, he's going to do that with Patrick Beverly. And if nobody buys in, it's going to be an atrocious season. There's going to be people blaming. And if they really want to make this work, then your boy, Mr. Russell Westbrook, with that high motor, he's got to be an absolute dog on that defensive end. And if he can do that, then we won't need his offensive three-point shooting or lack thereof. Let's get these players into the right spots, shooting threes at a high level, spreading the floor so that LeBron James can get into the paint and distribute or just dunk on somebody. But at the end of the day, they got to shoot the ball better. They got to stop turning the ball over, and they got to become a team. I want to see those guys on the bench jumping up and down, holding each other. We got dogs. They're fighting for each other. That's what will make the Lakers a better team. It's that simple. The chemistry. If you're loving these videos, please go down there and hit that like button. Give your NBA white boy a like and comment down below. What seed do you think the Lakers, if they're healthy, can make it in the Western Division this year? I'm going with 5th seed, and I'm going deep into the playoffs if they get that chemistry right. And if you truly want to see how the Lakers are going to be successful this year, this video, I break down the 4-out, 1-in offense that Coach Darvin Ham is going to run. I even break down film of the Milwaukee Bucks, how they ran it. He's stealing that. And this will make the Lakers successful if they get to their spots. I show the charts and everything. Make sure to watch that video right there.